and entertain the people of Papua New Guinea for many years to come. Congratulations, and I salute you again for the work you do for our people. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. I'm Tracy Pa with the Midday News. The Vabukori Women's Development Association, in partnership with the PNG Cancer Foundation, organized a successful health awareness program drawing on the expertise of key health stakeholders. The event, held in Vabukori Village, brought together organizations like World Vision and the TB Team, Marie Stops PNG, Operation Open Heart Foundation, Mental Health Services, Cancer Foundation PNG, and Glorious Medical Center. Each group provided valuable services and resources to raise awareness and improve community health. A special highlight was the contribution of Glorious Medical Center, which offered free medical checks for community members and VWDA participants. This gesture was deeply appreciated by the community, which described the event as a significant blessing. And City Governor Powers Pakop has launched the City Warden Initiative today in Port Moresby. Under this initiative, 150 wardens, including youths, will be deployed to Barako and Gordon's area to assist police in preventing activities such as illegal vendoring, loitering, and stealing. The youths underwent 2 weeks of induction and 3 days of specialist skills training. Coffee production and exports from the country is affected by the coffee berry boya, thus reducing the income for PNG farmers from 40 to 50%. Wilson Thompson, president of Highlands Farmers and Settlers Association, said the coffee berry boya, which is a harmful insect to coffee worldwide, is affecting coffee production in the country. Whilst the farmers know little to deal with the insect, Wilson said there are concerns about red ants in Bololo district, preventing farmers from pecking or working their coffee garden without the red ants attaching themselves to the farmers. The presence of the insect in Morbe and Medang means it will spread right around PNG, and Thompson is urging for more awareness to improve work in containment, identification, and dealing with the coffee disease. The Albanese government has scrapped conversational legislation that aimed to regulate online posts, as there's no way to get the proposal through the Senate. As Parliament heads into its final sitting week of the year, The government has also been forced to delay changes to gambling ads, leaving the future of that legislation uncertain. Political reporter Stephanie Dalzell has more.
A sit-down ahead of crunch time in Canberra.
Thanks for having me.
Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young declaring her party won't be supporting the government's legislation to rid the internet of mis and disinformation.
Badly and poorly explained and implemented. The practical implementation was just not there.
The legislation would have handed the media watchdog additional powers to pressure tech companies to crack down on fake news on their platforms. The coalition has been staunchly against the bill, arguing it could censor free speech.
The end of the year is coming, not with a bang but with a whimper. We've seen today the misinformation bill die its inevitable death.
It's very disappointing that, again, we see that teaming up between Peter Dutton and the Greens to block legislation.
A frustrated government seeking to spruik other plans for change ahead of the last sitting week of the year.
We are attempting this week to pass about 30 crucial bills
as it faced another blow to its legislative agenda. The government forced to delay plans aimed at overhauling gambling advertising, which involved limiting the timing and frequency of gambling ads on TV. Some Labor MPs and advocates were pushing for a total ban, and the government has conceded it's run out of time, insisting it hopes to take action on the issue in the future.
This is a very difficult and complex piece of work that simply cannot be finalised in the remaining week that we have of Parliament this year.
The government heads into the final parliamentary sitting week of the year with a shrinking legislative agenda, facing likely defeats on bills for housing support, international student number caps and its future Made in Australia legislation. As it seeks to shape the election contest, Labor will be stressing its wins on aged care and social media age limits, while using any legislative losses to accuse the Coalition and the Greens of standing in the way of change.
Around 170 protesters have been arrested at the port of Newcastle after blocking access to the site in a demonstration against new coal and gas projects. Dozens of people in kayaks managed to avoid police vessels and paddle out into the busy shipping lanes. As a result, the movement of ships in and out of the world's largest coal port was stopped for several hours due to safety concerns.
Hundreds of protesters took to the water in Newcastle Harbour in what they called a people's blockade. Among them was former Socceroo Craig Foster.
Like me, they're just ordinary Australians, you know, grandparents and little kids and, you know, families of all types, all professions.
They had a clear message.
If politicians won't stand up and do the right thing, we the people will.
A ship is proceeding along the channel and it is dangerous to get close to that ship.
Ignoring police warnings, protesters headed out towards the shipping lane. Police boats tried to stop them, but a number of kayaks managed to break through. They came within metres of a bulk carrier that was being escorted into port.
I'm directing you to not proceed past the navigation buoys.
Another ship heading into Newcastle, the Korean-registered Oriental Star, had to be turned around just outside the harbour. A short time later, the Port Authority announced that all shipping movements in and out of the port were being suspended. In a statement, it said the decision had been made due to an unacceptable risk to public safety. Police in boats began plucking protesters from their kayaks.
We had 10 people that were required to be assisted back to shore by water police because they couldn't get back to shore themselves. And we had one infant, probably around 12 months of age, who was sighted in a kayak.
Organisers said it was a mass act of civil disobedience to protest against government inaction on climate change.
The Labor government has approved 28 new coal and gas projects, and emissions are now higher under Anthony Albanese than they were under Scott Morrison.
After several hours of disruption, the Oriental Star entered the port as shipping resumed. Protesters will now head to Canberra, where they hope to deliver their message directly to the country's leaders.
New research has confirmed what many essential workers already know. Sydney is quickly becoming unaffordable when it comes to housing. The government is releasing more surplus land to build an additional 1,400 homes, but critics argue that this is far from enough.
Early childhood educators. They're the kinds of workers society can't do without, but when it comes to housing, they're running out of options.
Today's research shows that Sydney is increasingly becoming a no-go zone for the essential workers that make our city function.
Property Council research has found households on $120,000 a year are largely locked out of home ownership in Sydney. In the orange patches, a median-priced house is classed as beyond reach. In the red zone, it's beyond hope. The government needs to build 377,000 homes over the next 5 years to meet its own targets.
We've seen estimates of them missing that target by more than 100,000 homes.
In Parramatta, household incomes have grown by 87% since 2007, while the median house price has gone up 248%. Units went up by a more modest 93%, but that still outpaces people's take-home pay. The government's been releasing surplus land for development and today promised 11 more sites, making room for 1,400 new homes.
We're going to keep doing everything we can. That's putting billions of dollars on the table in the budget. That's releasing site after site after site of government land for housing.
But government land near Bella Vista and Kellyville stations still hasn't been built on, nearly 2 years since plans were approved for more than 5,500 homes. The Property Council's using the data to try to strengthen its case for a developer's discount. It says government fees and charges account for up to 40% of development costs, and it wants taxpayers to pick up more of the tab.
We don't make policy guided by maximising return to property developers. We make policy guided by delivering the maximum number of houses.
Figures that could determine the government's political fortunes.
In sports, the Corporate Debt Initiative started in 2023 and was a resounding success, with 20 corporates signing up. Due to popular demand, the competition continued this year with more teams joining. The corporate debt competition is an opportunity to partake in organised debts and give individual members a means to build character, relations and compete while having a fun time bonding with colleagues. The NCD debt competition, now in its second year running, has received praise from corporates taking part in the competition, as Tournament 2 of the season 2024 ended with the grand final on Saturday.
It's those who were not involved like now in this tournament is please release your staff to come and enjoy and relax their mind and associate with other staff and bond with other staff of other organizations so that you can learn what they are doing, they can learn what you are doing in that way. No, we help ourselves, we help our country grow.
The Port Moresby Rugby Football League is in turf tussle. 7 of 12 clubs participating in the competition held an annual general meeting yesterday and elected new executives. The new elected executives are led by Chairman Hawk Kiap, Ronnie Teti Jr. as Senior Vice President and Bradla Otio as Junior Vice President. Treasurer is Patricia Uram and Secretary is Uda Vai. Meantime, POM RFL longest-serving chairman, Dr. James Naipos, said under this initiative, the AGM to elect new executive is set on November 30th. He condemned the move made by the 7 clubs to hold the meeting a week ahead. He said if the clubs want to elect new executives, they can do so in the AGM on November 30th. More on this story at 6 tonight. And that ends the midday news. To join us at 6 for more.